and welcome back to the Mother-Daughter Disney podcast. I'm here sitting across my very lovely mother. We are actually recording in my apartment right now, so if the sound is a little bit different, or if there's different background noises, or if you hear my cat in the background, that is why. Hello, Mom. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm Janette. I'm here.
So today I'm really excited because my mom prepped this podcast, all the podcast notes, so she has 12 pages of notes sitting across from me.
Yes. It's about the Contemporary Hotel, and it's so funny because Contemporary Hotel has so much information. I mean, there's so many different websites, there's so many different reports, there's so many different facts and history and everything that goes on with this that I tried to just get a smattering of the information so that otherwise I'd be writing forever and ever. And that's the deal here. I write. I don't type. So I was writing everything in, which makes it very hard because then I'm inserting information in pages that I've already written. And when I realized how many pages I had, I could not go back and rewrite the whole thing neatly. So yes. I'm going to apologize for any rustling papers that you're going to hear in between, because every time I do the podcast, Amanda says I have to edit out the rustling. Well, don't bother.
I have to edit out all the background noise because
yes.
my mom is Italian. Obviously, this is not a visual podcast. Yes. So if you hear banging or, movements in the air, it's just her talking with her hands.
Yes.
But I realized without that visual component, you can't see the visual movements
of everything I'm doing while I'm talking.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if this was visual and you saw my notes, you'd be like looking at them going, okay, how the hell is she going to read that? Yes. Because I write like I talk. I just write it. I just my mind is going faster than my hand is. So I did as much as I could. So I put as much information and general kind of background, kind of memory of what goes on there and stuff. But I wanted to do as much as I could to keep it interesting. So please excuse all the movement and the rustling papers.
No, for sure. I'm excited though. So all right, let's get started.
Okay,
yeah.
So
tell me all about the Contemporary
Yes, we're going to
Resort.
start with where it started. The Contemporary debuted with the Magic Kingdom, which opened on October 1st of 1971. The difference is that contrary to belief, even though the hotel opened on October 1st, it wasn't done. They had not finished the hotel.
I did know that, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think that's in one of those Imagineering things that it wasn't quite yet done yet.
Yes, It wasn't done. But because they were having all the people come for the opening, they actually took all the cranes down, laid them down, covered them with grass, so that when people walked up to the hotel, it would look completely finished.
They were really just
I think they only had 10 rooms or something done at the time. So they actually demolished the cranes down to the ground and covered them all with grass to make them look like they were part of the landscaping so that it would look beautiful when the people showed up. Originally, there was supposed to be 5 hotels around the lake.
Yes, yeah, I did hear about that.
Right,
yeah.
there was supposed to be 5 hotels.
I know there's supposed to be more of an Asian-inspired hotel was one of them.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the other one
I don't know what the
was.
other ones were supposed to be, but they said there was supposed to be actually 5 hotels around the lake, and the only 2 that actually opened, obviously, when they opened up the park was the Contemporary and the Polynesian. Were the only 2 that actually got completed in time to open up. The Contemporary is, they call it a modern contemporary themed deluxe resort, and it's the closest to the Magic Kingdom. The monorail runs straight through the hotel, as everybody knows. Another little bit of trivia was that when they first did the model for the hotel, the monorail was supposed to run directly right through the center of the Grand Canyon Concourse.
Yeah.
Well, when they ran it through the center of the Grand Canyon Concourse, it rattled all the rooms.
Yeah.
So all the people that were in the rooms could hear it when they were standing and putting the rooms in. They could hear it rattling. So they ended up moving it. When you go there, you'll realize that it doesn't go through the center of the hotel, even though it looks like it goes right through the center. When you stop,
it goes all a little bit to the side.
Yes,
yeah.
when you stop to
really
think
goes to,
about
I guess,
it.
the front of the hotel, I suppose.
Right, it goes to the other side, and then the rest of it is the lobby on the side of it. But you don't think about that when you see it coming in. Like if you're outside the hotel, you think it's going straight through the middle. It's not. It's going to the side because they had to anchor it to the ground. And in order to anchor it to the ground, they had to move it to the left side of the hotel so that they could
makes sense, yeah.
anchor it to the ground so it wouldn't shake all the rooms that were going on. So that was a little bit of trivia. The top of the resort is obviously home to the California Grill and Lounge, and that was considered a signature restaurant with rooftop views of the Magic Kingdom and the park's fireworks display. So when they opened this Contemporary Hotel, they considered it its flagship resort. It was like like because it was one of the first ones open and it was deluxe, and I'll get into like the people that came and stuff once we get there. But I figured I might as well cover the fact that when the monorail comes through the Grand Canyon concourse, one of the big things about the Contemporary Hotel is the 90-foot mural in the Grand concourse. And you got to mention it. I mean, it was done by Mary Blair, who was an animator and an Imagineer. And what Mary created for the Contemporary was the world's largest handmade mosaic featuring a modern Southwest theme in the classic Mary Blair style. So that's what the mural took a year and a half to design, produce, and install. And it contains a goat with 5 legs up near the top.
The infamous 5-legged
Yes,
goat.
because Blair did that to honor the culture of the Grand Canyon Indian tribes who felt that artwork could not be perfect.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yes,
yeah.
because the Indian tribes felt that artwork should never be perfect. That's why she put that goat up there to remind everybody.
Yeah, and that goat is infamous because now when they redid, well, I may get that, so maybe I won't say that yet. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. The mural and the concourse, the colors reflect the earth and sky tones found in the Grand Canyon. Anybody who's been to the Grand Canyon, which I've not been to the Grand Canyon, but I've been to the Southwest. It is beautiful with those beautiful browns and blues and greens, and that's the feel you get when you get into the Grand Concourse, and that's what Mary Blair wanted to bring into the Grand Concourse. So I figured I had to mention that, being that we were mentioning the Grand Concourse. So if we start with the planning stage, obviously Roy Disney was involved in the planning stage, and the hotel was placed in line sight of Tomorrowland due to its design. Because it was considered a contemporary design, they purposely placed it where if you're standing in Tomorrowland, you can see the hotel, and that's where it would like flow with all of that.
And that also makes sense too, because when there is a certain part when you're exiting Frontierland and you look across the park, you can see the Contemporary Resort perfectly, and it would be in this space where Tomorrowland is.
Right,
so,
right.
yeah.
So that's what they did purposely. I mean, it's amazing how they thought of all that while they were putting everything down on the ground. And then, of course, I don't know if everybody knows this, but one of the possible names was called the Tempo Bay Resort. And Roy Disney didn't like it. So when they told him something about the name, he said, no, it's contemporary. That's what we're going to call it. I want simple. Simple is the Contemporary Resort. So that's where they went with. And originally, like I said, they were supposed to be the 5 hotels, but the only 2 that actually opened were the 2 resorts, and they were both designed by the same people, WED Enterprises, which stands for Walt Disney Imagineering. And the architect was Welton Beckett and U.S. Steel Corp. Worked together. And the original structure was supposed to be a high-rise. When they were doing the original structure, they would...
So like a skyscraper?
Like a skyscraper
almost?
with the monorail going through it. And during the whole thing of looking at it, not really liking the high-rise feel of what they were looking for, they ended up with the A-frame. And there was a lot of design going on there because they kind of went to the Hilton. Because the Hilton, they actually worked at the Hilton to get, like when they stayed at the Hilton, they actually looked at their manuals, their way they did things and stuff to get the hotel and figure out what they had to do. But they wanted to make it a little different because they did not want it to look like every Hilton A-frame.
Yeah,
so
for
that's
sure.
why they did the design they did,
interesting,
and
yeah.
then the monorail coming through the middle.
And that works out better too, because the skyscraper would have looked a bit silly just by itself.
Yeah, he says, what are we doing? This is like
Yeah.
supposed to be a high rise. We have to come up with a better idea. And that's how they started turning it around and turning it around. They started, like I said, they kind of went to the Hilton for like a template of how they were supposed to run the hotel. And that's how they started seeing the A-frames, and that's how it started coming through. The rooms for both resorts, actually, I thought it was just the Contemporary, but both the Polynesian and the Contemporary were pre-constructed. And what they found out is that they were lifted by crane and slid into like little pockets. But the problem is that when they were trying to put them in, they weren't fitting perfectly. Because when they tried to put them in, when you try to fit something in, something shifts.
Yeah.
They had to then figure out that they put cranes on both sides of the hotel, and they had to alternate. They had to put one on one side, one on the other side. One on one side, one on the other side.
Well, that's like when you put a tire back on, you do that with the bolts. Yeah.
Yes, you can't. They couldn't just slide them all in one side, go around to the other side, and slide them all in. So obviously, they came up with all these like inventive ways to build the hotel, but they went through all the little things that went wrong when they were trying to do it. And then once they completed it, it's actually consists of 4 buildings, with the main building being the iconic A-frame.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And until the Grand Floridian, the Contemporary was considered Disney's flagship resort. It was their top of the line flagship, designated as like, this is where you come to get all the luxury.
I feel like I could definitely see that because it's also the closest to Magic Kingdom at that point. And that was the only park at the time,
because they were pulling in all the people. And the joke is that when we think about what we pay to stay there now, the flagship resort of Walt Disney World was considered luxury, and the guests paid an exorbitant price of anywhere from $28 to $44 a night.
Oh my God.
And back then it was considered exorbitant.
Wait, so with inflation, let me quickly look up the inflation calculator, because that is so funny.
Okay.
So,
$28 to $44.
And that was inflation calculator time. And that was in 1971.
Right.
So 1971, 40. Let's do the higher one. We're splashing out on the good one. So
yeah.
$44. All right. In today's money, that would be $317 per night. So.
And now think of what you're paying to stay at the Contemporary. Right? It's like double that. Okay.
Sure.
But back then, $44 a night was considered, I think you could probably stay at the Contemporary probably in September when it's like the lowest season. You could probably stay for $400 or $500 on like a weeknight kind of thing. Yeah. But it was because it was so luxurious, as they were claiming, they had to say that anything that the guests needed had to be provided. So their services included a drugstore, a liquor store, a smoke shop, a jewelry shop, a florist shop, a tennis shop, a beach shop, a game room, individual men's and women's salons, as well as separate men's and women's and children's clothing stores. And these all became losses for the hotel.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Why is there a florist in this hotel?
This is like, well, you can still get flowers now. Like I said,
you can, but there isn't like a flower shop to go look at flowers.
No, you can get it online, but they had a shop. At that time, there was no online.
Yeah.
So if people wanted flowers delivered to their room, they had to go to the florist and say, I want them delivered. Back then, there was no online.
No, that's true too,
I want to order flowers. To order flowers, you had to go in person. But they fit all that into the hotel because they said if people are paying $44 a night, they had to have every service at their disposal because they're considering this a luxury resort. So the original dining also included a Grand Canyon Terrace Cafe, Grand Canyon Terrace, which later became the Concourse Grill, and the Concourse Steakhouse, Top of the World, the Gulf Coast Room, El Pueblo, the Dock Inn, the Monorail Club Car, the Sandbar, and the Mesa Grand Lounge. I mean, this hotel was like chock full of stuff. Some of the stuff I remember because I was...
some of the stuff I'm like, where was it?
I know. Well, I'll get to that. I'm going to tell you what they replaced with that.
Yeah.
I did that. Okay. I'm just going through the original right now, but I am going to tell you where they changed everything. And the joke is that I was to the hotel. I stayed at the Contemporary Hotel back in 1978, 79.
Wow. So just a few years after
it was just a few years after it opened. I went and stayed at the hotel. I went to the Bahamas on my first honeymoon, and then we went to Disney. We were only supposed to stay one day. When we got there, we were so floored that we were like, we cannot leave in one day. We ended up extending and staying 3 days. But back then, only the Magic Kingdom was open, and only the 2 hotels were open. But I stayed at the Contemporary, and I remember especially the steakhouse that was on the second floor. Even when you were little, we did go to the steakhouse one time for dinner on the second floor before they changed it. But that was all there. Okay. Original shopping was the Contemporary Man, the Contemporary Woman, Plaza Gifts and Sundries, Kingdom Jewelers, the Fantasia Shop, the Spirit World, the Captain's Chair, the American Beauty Shop, Bay and Beach, and the Olympian Spa and Gym. Were all what they considered all of their shopping venues.
Yeah, definitely a lot of options. So
yeah. Okay. So now, just to get you an idea of when the people went to the hotel, when the hotel opened, it was full all the time. They never had a problem filling it. It was like overbooked all the time. But like I said, all those services, as I mentioned, were losses for the hotel because even though they were only charging $44 for the room, all those services, by the time they got to the end of the quarter, they were not making any money on the fact of what they were selling to people and people shopping and doing whatever. When the hotel opened, it was full all the time, and the average stay was 2.5 days. So the turnover was tremendous because you got to realize these people are going to this luxury hotel to go to the park, but there was only one park.
Yeah, it's like once you do the park.
So yeah, once you do the park for 2.5 days, yeah, it's like how much more do we need to spend this exorbitant money to stay here? Okay, because there was really nothing else around there at the time. Mm-hmm. So the wear and tear caused a complete refurbishment in 1975. So within 4 years,
oh wow, that's crazy.
They had to do, and that was another thing was due to the souvenir seekers.
Yeah.
When they first opened the hotel, because it was a luxury hotel, everything had the Disney logo on it. All their towels, all their
so people were stealing all the
right
stuff.
back. It was a smoking, obviously, hotel. All the ashtrays, all the towels, all the little things that were in the rooms, all the silverware, all the dishes, everything had a Disney logo on it. So people would take all that stuff and go home with it.
Yeah,
okay,
that's so funny. I mean, like, if that was today, probably would happen today too.
People go home with bags and bags of all those H2O stuff.
Let's not forget too, when Galaxy's Edge opened, they had that special like spork that was like the Star Wars themed spork, and people were stealing all the sporks. They had to get rid of the spork. Right. You have to pay for the spork now, y'all. Like, we ruined the spork.
So that was their thing when they opened it up, thinking that it was going to be luxurious, that it had all of their stuff on. Well, all the souvenir seekers were stealing everything. So that is why they removed everything, and everything now is generic. And you'll see that even when you go to the hotels
makes sense.
now.
Yeah.
It is definitely all generic. They don't put their stuff on anything. I remember years ago, even their butter pats used to have the Disney logo on it. I mean, not that anybody would steal that, but they used to go through the trouble that if they put butter on the table, it was a pat that had a Disney emblem in it.
I wonder if there's anyone today who still has like the OG towels and plates, probably in some like kind of like historical museum, but like regular people, they still have it because it's like, oh, we stole this stuff, we're going to keep it forever.
Keep it forever. I know. Or they've passed it down or packed it away, that you see on Instagram sometimes that people say, look what I found in my grandfather's, trunk or something, But now the contemporary rooms have been refurbished, and now they're an incredible theme. The rooms themselves have an incredible theme. So, but that was back then. They had a problem with people stealing stuff. So, okay. Just a little trivia that back then in the 1970s, most people know that a lot of presidents visited the hotels, but the one president who had a very big connection to it was Nixon.
Yeah, no, I do
most
remember
people
that,
know that Nixon had a connection because he gave his "I'm not a crook" speech.
Yeah, the famous speech.
Right.
Yeah.
In the resorts, he was in the Resorts Ballroom of the Americas giving a speech, and that's when he said, "I am not a crook." But what people don't know is he was actually involved with Disney even before that, because he cut the ribbon for Disneyland when it opened. He was a vice president back then, and he cut the ribbon for Disneyland, and he actually visited and toured Epcot before it opened.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he had a relationship with Disney. It wasn't like he just showed up at Disney for that day and did that speech and did that. He actually had a relationship with Disney, that he loved Disney so much with him and his family, that him and his family were there for the cutting of Disneyland, and they toured Epcot before it was even opened. So that was like a little bit of trivia. Okay. Now I have an insert page 4. No. Okay. No. I think I have to get to page 4. Okay. We're still on page 3. Okay. In 2009, the hotel changed. Just as a little thing, just of those of you who know that in 2009, they took down the North Garden wing, and that's where they replaced it with Disney Bay Lake Tower.
Okay.
Where we now reside, where we have our
my mom's
thing.
a DVC owner at Bay Lake Tower.
That was the North Tower, the North Garden wing. When you look at the contemporary, you'll know that those low buildings are the wings, and they still do rent the south, the other side.
Their running track, you go around the south wing. So
yes, you go around. Oh, you go around the south wing when you run. Yeah. You kind of notice it when you're on the monorail, that you'll see that and those were only like 2-floor wings that came out on the sides, but they took one whole half of that out to build the DVC Bay Lake Tower, obviously, which is now attached on the other side. Okay, right now, because they did that, the guests now have access to 2 resort pools plus the DVC pool, a marina, jogging trails, an arcade, shopping, movies under the stars, and holiday displays, and a coffee, besides the restaurant on the top floor, obviously a coffee bar in its first floor lobby, which serves pastries, smoothies, coffee, tea, stuff like that. I'll go through the restaurants and stuff later, but that's like just a main thing of what's available at the hotel. I'll go through a little bit more in a little while. Okay, now we're going to talk about the 4th floor Grand Concourse level. And that's had the most dramatic change, obviously, to the resort, because that's what people see. I mean, even if the rooms are refurbished and the rooms get a different theme or whatever, those are only the people staying there. People coming through that hotel on a daily basis is phenomenal. And what they're seeing is the Grand Concourse. So on the north end, you have the Plaza Gifts, Sundry, that originally was the Plaza Gifts and Sundries, and the Spirit World, which sold merchandise, toiletries, flowers, food and snacks, soft drinks, liquor, and tobacco products. Today it is the Concourse, Sundries, and Spirits. And that's where we go into you'll see that when you come off on that north end, there's that little shop that has, a little bit of wine, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You can go in there and buy a little bit of merchandise. That's what's changed from those.
Yeah, it's kind of in like the dark corner. That's what people often refer to it. It's kind of like all the way kind of.
And I think it's a lot smaller, because if you realize behind it is where they put the arcade. Originally, the arcade was not there. So what happened, because that arcade used to be downstairs where the Wave was put in. So the arcade was never there. So now because they put the arcade behind there, that's why that little corner is just that little tiny little shop.
The little dark corner.
Yes, the little dark
Fantasia
shop
Markets.
over there in the corner. So because I think when it had all this other stuff in it, it was all that whole side so that they had all that stuff fit in there. So there is also an arcade, obviously, on the north side now, as I just mentioned, where that wasn't there before. Then on the opposite side was the gifts. Now covers what used to be all of the other shops I mentioned, all of the women's shops, the men's shops, the kids' shops. It was all separated out.
So they all must have been super tiny then.
Yes, they were all tiny, but they only, like I said, because the men shopped in their shop, the
Yeah.
women shopped in their shop.
But they would have been tiny little shops.
Yes,
Yeah.
now it's one big side of the
Yeah,
thing.
for
That's
sure.
where they had the jewelry. They had a jewelry shop. Well, now if you go into that store, it's men's, children, jewelry, watches. Everything is in that one big side, and it's all open. Back then, it was all individual shops, and I guess that's because back then that's the way they shopped. That they felt
It's like
that,
what people expected back then.
yes, the men
So-
would go in and buy their stuff. The women would go in and look at their stuff and that kind of stuff. Okay, Fantasia Gifts is what stands in the middle. And that used to be open lobby space. They never even had that little gift shop in the middle. And those of you who know that shop, it's like usually that's got little toys and stuffed animals and
Yes,
pins.
the toys, the pins, and also has like a lot of Star Wars. It just like
Yes.
themed items. in there,
Themed,
like
yes,
Star Wars and
themed
Marvel
items,
stuff is in
toys,
there. Yeah.
maybe some themed like clothing things and stuff, stuffed animals. They have a whole wall with all the
they
pins.
do the magic bands too in there. You can get
Yes, magic bands, that kind of stuff. Well, that was open space. It was like open lobby space where people could go and sit in the lobby, where now has been put at the end with the big windows where the monorail comes in. Now they have those few little couches and stuff at the end where you can go and sit down. Okay. Now we can go to restaurants that used to be there. Okay, the restaurants now on the Grand Concourse. All of the dining areas have seen tons of changes over the years. Today's Contempo Cafe, which serves breakfast, lunch, dinner in a quick service kind of atmosphere. Go in there and you can get stuff right from the cabinets or the refrigerators or whatever. And plus you can order some food that they cook and then have waiting for you or delivered to your table, and they have all the seating. That replaced the Concourse Steakhouse, which, as much as I like that little Grand Concourse Cafe, it's very convenient and everything. I have to say the Grand Concourse Steakhouse was a great steakhouse. It was a really good steakhouse. Steakhouse 71, which we'll get to later, is also a good steakhouse. But the steakhouse up there, I have to say, every time I was in there, it was like that little gem that nobody remembered was there. So when you went there, it
Yeah,
wasn't
for sure.
crazy like
It's
the
kinda
parks.
special, yeah.
Yes. See, Steakhouse 71 has become so popular now that people are all going there. Back then, people stayed in the park. They didn't really go back to the hotel to eat as much. So when we did go to the steakhouse, it was less crowded. There wasn't Chef Mickey's there. There wasn't all the stuff going on. So it was just more of a go out to eat kind of atmosphere. Okay. Chef Mickey's took over the space that was just air. There was nothing there. It was open
Wow.
outside. So what they did
okay.
is they actually built the building out
Yeah.
to put a lounge in there originally. The lounge was this lounge space, and that's what they turned into. One of those lounges I mentioned was what they put there. They built the building out from the A-frame and put a lounge there. And I think
So was it just like a balcony, I guess?
yeah, it was like a balcony lounge.
I guess a lot of people smoked too back then, so you can go outside and
Right.
smoke
And to
too.
tell you the truth, I think I sat on that lounge because I remembered being there because, well, I'll get to it in a minute, but there's another lounge right behind it because now that's where they put Chef Mickey's. They closed it all off and they put Chef Mickey's in there. So now you've got Chef Mickey's on one side and you've got Contempo Cafe on the other side. And then right behind Chef Mickey's, I should tell you, Chef Mickey's is a buffet. Those of you who don't know what Chef Mickey's is, Chef Mickey's is one of the most popular character dining restaurants because it serves a breakfast and a dinner buffet where it says Mickey Mouse and some of his friends. So, but it's always Mickey Mouse is always there. Sometimes it's Goofy, sometimes it's Pluto, sometimes it's somebody else, but Mickey is always there. So it's a very popular buffet. And we've been there a couple of times. We've been there for breakfast. I don't know if we've ever been there for dinner. I think we only went for breakfast most of the time.
I don't remember going for dinner.
Never been for dinner. But the breakfast buffet was always a very nice
it's good,
buffet.
yeah.
Nice selection, good food.
Yeah.
They came around when you were kids and we did all that stuff.
for
So
sure.
that was very good. Behind Chef Mickey's is called the Outer Rim. And the Outer Rim has got a bar and a couple of tables and stuff. And I think it's a TV up in the corner. And that's just to serve cocktails. They have a very big cocktail menu and it's only open in the late afternoon till the evening where you can go and you can sit there and have cocktails. But I think that when I was there, I was at the lounge. I forget the name of the lounge originally, what I mentioned, but I remember sitting there and I was sitting when the monorail was coming over. And it was one of those really beautiful nights when the monorail's coming over off the track coming through the hotel. hotel, crab claws were in season. And I remember sitting there and they used to serve crab claws. We had drinks and crab claws. Now, obviously, it was when I was there in the 70s. So we had drinks and crab claws and, you're seeing all that beautiful scenery and the park in the distance. And then you've got the monorail coming in.
Yeah, like very luxurious.
Yes, it was like, and it was the first time I had ever been on a plane to begin with, let alone in Florida. And it was just like sitting there going, oh my God, I was only like 22 years old. So I'm like sitting there going, oh my God, this is like luxury.
That's awesome though.
Right. So that's what used to be there. Okay. The sandbar still stands. It's still the same name. That's the pool bar, obviously. And that pool bar has an enclosed section that you can go inside and get out of the heat and sit in air conditioning and have lunch, or they have an open section by the pool, the main pool.
We don't usually go to the pool, so I don't think I've ever really seen this.
No, well, we don't. I've been to the pool at the DVC.
Yeah.
We've never gone to the pool at the Contemporary.
Yeah, never gone to
you
the
see
Contemporary.
it when you're there. You can actually, especially from some of our rooms in DVC, you can actually see the pools and see how they are. But we've never really gone down to the pool and hung out by the pool. Okay, now we're getting to the 15th floor. 15th floor was originally the top of the world supper club. It was originally someplace where people could go for dinner and dancing. They used to bring in Las Vegas type acts. Some of these things were naming top people.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's cool.
That people used to say, oh my God, like all those actors and singers.
It's supposed to be like that luxury type of thing.
Yes.
Almost like the Tip Top Club.
Yes,
in
like the
Tower
Tip
of
Top
Terror,
Club,
yeah.
right. That's exactly what it was like. So in the early 1980s, it had a show called Broadway at the top. But unfortunately, another no profit. So they decided to change it. Okay, so after that, it was later called the Top of the World Lounge. And they used to advertise it as saying it had the best views of the Magic Kingdom and the fireworks. Still not profitable. So in 1993, it closed and it opened up the current California Grill, which obviously must be making them money because now they're just serving food and they're charging exorbitant prices for it. It's still the best place to go have dinner if you want to watch the fireworks and have dinner, because you can sit up there and it is absolutely a view of the park. And at night, as usual, they will turn down the lights and pump in the music from the park, and you can actually watch those fireworks, listen to the music through the big, gigantic plate glass windows, and enjoy a meal or a drink or dessert or, whatever you're doing at the things. And that's how they do it. That's how they express now that it's one of the most popular restaurants to go and have a late dinner so that you can see the fireworks from the park. Okay, so, all right. Now we're going to go down to the first floor restaurants. It's now Steakhouse 71, which we've eaten at a couple of times. Very, very good restaurant. Obviously, everybody. I don't know
We've done
anybody.
a whole deep dive into Steakhouse 71, right? That was our first deep dive restaurant, actually.
And I don't know, like I said, even now when I've looked at everything that I looked at, even when I see Instagram and everything, and people say, "Oh, give me, things to go here, go there," I have not heard one person say something bad about Steakhouse 71.
No, true.
I mean, the food is good. The service is excellent. We've not had even if they make a mistake, which they did on my dinner last time, in 2 seconds it was fixed and brought out. I got to give them credit. The bartenders are nice when you sit at the lounge. So before Steakhouse 71, they opened up what was called The Wave. The Wave was open from 2008 to 2021, and it was advertised as a menu of sustainable favorites, seasonal dishes, and market-inspired cooking. I have to say that their menu never really did anything for me.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't really marketed very well, I suppose, but
no. And it was open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like a steakhouse is now, because it is a hotel restaurant. So it is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like I said, they changed a little bit of the atmosphere and the decor inside. It gave it a little bit more of an atmosphere. The Wave had no atmosphere. It was like sitting in a cafeteria, if you worked in a company, you'd know what I mean. You're sitting in a cafeteria dining room. It was like nothing. And the menu was really not that hot. So I think that's what caused them to rethink what they wanted to open there. And they reopened the steakhouse. So, did all that. Okay. I'm on my next page. Okay. Now, I feel that I should mention that the Contemporary is still their luxury flagship hotel, even though they have Grand Floridian, Polynesian, those hotels are also, somehow the Contemporary still carries that.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like I would think the Grand Floridian is
I think now people think that's the flagship hotel,
Yeah.
because that's the one that has the weddings. That's the one that, does everything.
It's also in that Florida style, and you're in Florida, I suppose, as well.
So, but the Contemporary still holds its own, just to let you know that besides all the amenities, I already listed, you have to realize that they have mail service, business services, complimentary Wi-Fi, parking, banking and ATMs. You can actually you can actually exchange money at their desk, their front desk. So they have regular banking and ATMs. They have housekeeping, in-room floral and gifts. Now you can just order online and have all kinds of floral arrangements and whatever delivered. An online check-in, laundry and cleaning service, and a club level. And a lot of times they'll do your check-in for your airlines and hold your luggage and whatever to get it to the airport. They also now have a big convention center that they've refurbished that's 115,000 square feet. And they will do any kind of affair from a big, gigantic convention to a small business dinner. They have 2 pools with hot tubs. One of them has a gigantic water slide. They have resort campfires every night. They have movies under the stars. They have the arcade up on the 4th floor. They have basketball courts, cabana rentals, fishing, motorized boat rentals, volleyball, and tennis courts. So it is a resort. Okay. Yeah. I know that people do go, and some people will not go to the parks every day, and they will say we're doing a resort day and take advantage.
Yeah, you might as well, because there's so much to do.
Yes, what's happening at the resort. And if you're paying that kind of money, it is nice to take advantage of what's going on at the resort.
Especially if it's a hot day, you want to go to the pool and stuff.
Wait, my next page had a couple of those things. They have jogging trails, specialty cruises, and a fitness center.
Yes.
Okay, forgot to mention all that.
Yeah,
okay.
I have been to the fitness center and the jogging trail before. The jogging trail is very small in comparison to other resorts' jogging trails.
It's kind of contained.
It is, yeah. I think can't remember if it's a full mile. I think it's actually, I think it's either a little bit over a mile or a little bit under a full mile. So it's a little bit inconvenient when you're trying to plan out how many miles you want to do, unless you're just doing for time or something instead. But yeah, a little inconvenient that way. It is just smaller than some of the other resorts.
Right, because it's kind of contained, I guess, where it is. It's kind of contained. Yeah. Okay.
But the fitness center was nice. I remember when I went to it. So.
I don't think I've ever been to the fitness center over
I think
there.
I just walked through it, but
yeah. Never been at the fitness. Like I said, I have not stayed at the Contemporary Hotel, except when I was in my 20s and the 70s. We have stayed at Bay Lake. Yeah. So, of course, we're very familiar with the Grand Concourse, but not so familiar with the rooms themselves and the amenities, like those kind of amenities at the hotel. We're more familiar with the DVC amenities. Okay, and the last thing on my list here is that the transportation, because if you talk about the hotel, you have to talk about the transportation and where it is and how it's located. Obviously, the number one seller is it is walkable to the Magic Kingdom, which on most days is very good when you leave the Magic Kingdom after the fireworks. It is just so refreshing to walk out of that park and walk back to your hotel, as opposed to fighting the crowds to get on any of the transportation to get back to your hotels and then have to walk where you have to go. It is a very nice perk. It's also on the resort monorail line. It has bus service to Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Disney Springs. There's minivan service you can get for a price, and boat transportation goes back and forth to the Magic Kingdom, which one time I walked in the heat after going to Disney for like how many years. I got made fun of because we came out of the park.
Well, because they forgot.
Completely forgot.
Yeah, I think we shared this on the podcast before. But yeah, her and my dad had left early. Me and my partner were still in the park. And then I text her saying we're on our way back. And then we got back quickly because as me and my partner walked out, I said to him, do you want to take the monorail back or do you want to walk back? Because the monorail, you're the first stop. So you get on the monorail at Magic Kingdom and you'll be the first stop getting off at Contemporary Resort. And then we walked over to Bay Lake. And so when I got back, my mom said, she's like, oh, you guys got back kind of quickly. And I told her, it's like, well, we took the monorail. And her and my dad's face were like flabbergasted.
Because it didn't ever, we just walked out of the park, and because we're so used to at night walking back to the hotel, didn't even dawn on us in the middle of all that heat that we should have just went to the monorail or the boat. Nope, we walked all the way back to the hotel in the heat.
They were like flabbergasted that we took it. And
it was so funny. I was like, how could both of us absolutely forget after all the years we've spent in Disney? But see, sometimes it just skips right out of your head. But anyway, I hope it gave you a bit of interesting history and a feel for how it's evolved. I was trying to just give more of the bullet points. Still one of my favorite places to be. I really, we always like kind of say, well, we like staying at the boardwalk, but I like staying at the Bay Lake. Those are obviously the two areas that we love to stay at. And for us, it's home because we're DVC and we are Bay Lake people. So for us, it's our home. Yeah. So I do do love staying there. It has its advantages, and other places have their advantages. I hope you get a chance to visit and stay at that hotel, because it does give you all of that amenities to do what you have to do.
As my mom said too, they actually renovated the rooms quite recently to do an overlay of the Incredibles theme to them.
Right.
So I don't know all the different size rooms, but there's lots of different options for different sized rooms, whether it's like a deluxe room, a suite, and just maybe a standard room, which is like a twin bed or something. So lots of different options depending upon your family size, your price point, how long you're staying if you want.
Right. And season wise, according to when you're going, I mean, obviously it does fluctuate. I guess back then, the difference between $28 and $44 was a big difference for people to pay. Right now, a chance between probably like $500 and $1,000 is a lot to pay. But it is double. Like I said, back then that was double, and now you can get double according to what season you want to stay in and where you want to stay and what view you want.
What kind of room you want.
Yeah, what kind of room you want. But like I said, it's one of those deals where it is a luxury hotel and you're paying for that luxury.
Yeah. I guess the other thing too, real quick, was that they also renovated the lobby, the first floor lobby of the Contemporary Hotel.
Oh, yes.
A couple years ago. And that's what I was saying, that again, the 5-legged goat in the mural that Mary Blair did became so infamous that now on the first floor of the lobby, when you walk in, there is a photo of that 5-legged goat right there to honor the fact that
I didn't realize that. Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah,
it's quite up far in the corner of the mural, so it's not very obvious. Only like a lot of Disney goers would see it, but because it became so famous, I know there's actually a cupcake, I think, with a 5-legged goat.
5-legged goat.
A Contempo Cafe.
Like I said, that was a little, when I saw it, I said, that's a little bit of trivia, because most people would, like you said, would not notice the 5-legged goat.
So now it's in the lobby. They've
so much going on.
They've done another honorary thing for the 5-legged goat, because it's so honored and so popular.
I also think that these days, it's funny how vacations evolve. From my standpoint, I was there when I was young, and it was in the 70s, and it was my first time to Disney World or whatever. And I never went back again until Luke was 2 years old. So
that would have been in the 90s.
Right. At that point, we're in the 90s. So 20 years later, now I'm back at Disney World. And when you were young, you're so busy with kids because you have the stroller, you have the stuff, you have the kid, you have the this, you have the that. You don't take the time to look at all this stuff. You see it, you appreciate that it's beautiful and it's inviting and it's a lot to see and a lot to digest. But as time goes on, you start to look at things differently. Like as you got older, we didn't have to do all of the character things and all this stuff and that stuff. So we started going to different restaurants and taking more time to sit and relax and do different things. And now that you do all your vlogs, and we take our time walking through the park even. We don't get to the park and have to go straight to the rides, or get to the park and go straight here because we have to get on a line or we have to do this. We'll walk through Main Street now and you'll be like, oh, wow, look at that up there. And oh, yeah, look at that up. And we're strolling while people are running past us to get where they have to go. So as time goes on, you appreciate and see different things.
Well, yeah, I think it's like you can appreciate all the details, because there's so many details in Disney in a general sense.
Yes.
That it's as much as you want to look at it and as much as you don't want to look at it. When you walk down Main Street, for instance, every window has some kind of detail or something special about it, some kind of historical element to it. But at the same time, you can also just walk down Main Street and be like, oh, Main Street looks nice today, and then just go about your day. Like, you don't have to look at those details if you don't wish to, but if you want to, it is there. Right.
And then there are the people, unfortunately, who don't have the luxury that we have, that we drive back and forth and go back and come back. So we have time to do all that, because our attitude is, if we don't get on a ride today, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Some people, they save all their money up just to go on this vacation for the first time. So a lot of the details will escape some people because they're so busy making sure that they get that experience of seeing everything and doing everything, that these little tiny little details just miss. But when you put them all together, that's what makes Disney. I mean, even if you don't notice all the little tiny details, when you put them all together, it's just that whole feel of that you're in Disney.
Together.
Yes, I got to give them credit. I mean, even when I was doing this research, I was laughing because I had to text Amanda and tell her, there's a lot of work. She does most of the work. Amanda does do most of the work. She does all of the research for most of the stuff. I mean, I did the DVC, and I'm doing, I did this, and I'm sure I'll do one. I did Polynesian.
Well, I think you're going to do all the resorts.
Okay, so I'll probably do the resorts at this point. So. This one was a lot of work because of the nature of the hotel.
Well, because there's a lot of history to this.
Yes.
I almost feel like this is almost like a contemporary resort history episode.
Yes.
Because there was so much history to the episode that was so interesting.
And like I said, because even when I was looking for it, I mean, every time you turned a page of something. There was something else that I wanted. Like I said, if you look at my notes, you'd say to yourself, how the hell did she get all that in? It was just like trying to insert stuff and trying to like make little, when we didn't have computers, we used to do little triangles or X's and say, okay, put this here and put that there. And, you had to figure out what to do. So, even when I was doing it, the Contemporary has a lot of history because of the fact that it opened with the park and what went on and how they evolved from there. But it is a lot of work. When you look at all the history that there is, I didn't even touch most of it. Like I said, like when you say all these little details that
There's
you could
so
get
much.
into
Yeah,
for every
so much.
land in the Magic Kingdom and every land in the different parks, there's just so much detail that you can get into.
Yeah. It's one of those things too where at this point we probably would never even stay at the Contemporary Resort because we stay at Bay Lake and they're so similar.
Oh yeah, I would never stay at the Contemporary.
I don't think we'd ever stay in the main tower or the South Wing. If anything, if we were going to stay in one of these resorts, we would go to the Polynesian or to the Grand Floridian or to the Riviera or another one of the deluxe resorts.
One of the other resorts and do it. Well, we're actually going to be staying in the Animal Kingdom Lodge.
I know, I'm so excited.
At the end of this year when we go, we are going to be staying at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jambo House, and we are staying in a villa, but still we'll
probably do full episodes for the trip and then one just talking about our
Animal Kingdom Lodge. Yes,
yeah, because that will be a whole episode.
Yeah, it's kind of like my birthday present to myself. We're staying 3 nights at the Animal Kingdom Lodge just so we can get a feel for it, because it's not one of the lodges that we would go and stay a whole week or do whatever. And because we're going down, I just felt that it was something that we wanted to try out. So that's what we're going to do. That's my birthday gift to myself. So I'm looking forward to that because, like I said, there's certain hotels that we would probably never stay in at this point because, like you said, we do own at Bay Lake, and anybody who owns DVC knows you book first at your own resort because you don't know what you're going to get after that. So a lot of times, even if we want to change, we can't. So we always tend to lean towards our own resort, which we enjoy being at, so it's not a problem. But I will look forward to staying at a different hotel.
Yeah. No, awesome. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to?
No, I think I've done enough.
No, this is great. Yeah, thanks so much for doing the Contemporary Resort. I hope everyone enjoyed getting a little deep dive history into the Contemporary Resort. It's a great resort if you're able to stay there. Obviously, we've stayed at Bay Lake many times, so we'll stay at Bay Lake again in the future.
Right.
So, all right, so we can transition to just a little bit of Disney news. We're pre-recording this podcast earlier than we pre-record other podcasts. So some of this Disney news is we don't have much here. Right. So just to say, in 1 week, Journey of Water is going to open in Epcot. I know there's been lots of pass holder previews, DVC previews, cast member previews. I feel like at this point I know so many people who've gone to see it already that when it opens I'm like, who else is left to go see this grand opening of Journey of Water. So Journey of Water is officially opening. I've heard very positive things about it. A lot of people really like it. I've also heard too that going at night is really special because there's a lot of really cool lighting around. So lots of cool lighting and also a lot of cool Easter eggs too, like finding all the Moana characters going around, they're really well hidden, that you can see a lot of cool things other than just the water features and fun things to do. Also, there is apparently rumored to be a hidden Mickey somewhere in the Journey of Water, but as of right now for recording, no one has found it.
No one found it?
No one knows where it is yet, but it's rumored that there is a hidden Mickey somewhere in it. So I'll be curious to see by the time this podcast episode comes out if you're listening being like, oh yeah, it's this, because people know where it is now or it got leaked by a cast member.
Tell us, we can say, oh look, I found the hidden Mickey.
Yeah, but as of right now for recording, it's just rumored that there's one in there, but I haven't heard anyone say they know exactly where it is yet. So that'll be interesting. Again, just some small news. For some reason, it's got 3 Instagram posts on different platforms. That's why I thought I'd include this. But the new Lululemon store in Disney Springs has moved to a different location, and it's a larger. They have a larger space basically, and it looks like it's under the covering, the awning section. So it's kind of by where the Coca-Cola store is, over on that side. There's that section that has a covering.
Oh yeah.
With the fountain in the middle. So it looks like it's in that section now, and the store is just much larger. That's
where all the high end clothing stores.
Yeah, so they moved over there, and again, lots of people were very excited that Lululemon has a bigger space now. I guess it was really cramped.
It was a small little store, I remember, because it was over on the other side by the Disney jewelry store.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a little bit smaller. So people were very excited to see that.
I wonder what it took over.
I don't know actually.
It's over by where Vera Bradley is and Free People.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out exactly. What's funny is that there used to be a running store over there called Run to Fit or something like that.
Oh, maybe it took over that.
So part of me is did it move and take over that running athletic store? I can't tell though based on the photos.
I guess we'll find out when we go.
Yeah, I don't know Disney Springs that well enough to figure out which one it took over personally.
We always go through there because Free People's in there, and I love Free People.
Free People's over that side. So, and just one little tidbit of Disney news. Again, as of right now, recording, there have been new barges added to the World Showcase Lagoon in prep for Lumonious. So everyone's very excited for the new nighttime show in Epcot, Luminous. Sorry, I can read. I know words. So, so there's new barges. They're not as big as what the barges were for Harmonious, so they're quite smaller. So I wonder how much much more they're going to add. And I also wonder too when they're going to start test running the show, you know. So right now in theory they have the whole show planned out, you know, but I'm assuming at one point or another people who live in the area may start seeing fireworks in the middle of the night or lights in the middle of the night as they start test running, you know, what the show is actually going to look like. So that'll be very interesting to see. Yeah, so that's just it for just a little bit of Disney news. Again, we're pre-recording very earlier than we normally do, so that's why I don't want to go too much into Disney news, because by the time this comes out, there's going to be way more Disney news for sure. Yes. All right, so now for some Disney birthdays, although there are no birthdays this week. So no Disney birthdays this week. I guess we don't have a lot of Libras in the Disney cinematic universe, so no Disney birthdays. And that leaves us to transition into into our Disney memory. So did you have a memory that you want? I feel like you've shared a lot of memories today.
I just shared a lot of memories. I think I've done enough memories at this point.
Any other memories though?
No, like I said, I think just the memories that I shared of being there and doing and just seeing it for the first time for me. And then as kids, when you were younger and we used to go through the monorail and go through the things. We went to Chef Mickey's. That was a good memory. We met neighbors. One time, all of our neighbors from Doylestown, when we were living in Pennsylvania, were also going to be in Disney World at the same time. And we all met for dinner at the old Italian restaurant that used to be in Disney Springs. I forget the name of that one.
Portobello's?
Portobello's. Yeah. Yes, we all met at Portobello's for dinner, but one morning we all met at Chef Mickey's for breakfast. So when you think of memories, even though we have so many memories of just us, there was so many times that people were down there that we would meet them, and that was a big group, and we just had a great time. And that's why Chef Mickey's to me is, as much as I would not go now because we don't need to do character anymore, it was always a really good restaurant.
Yeah, I do think Chef Mickey's is fun too for a character meet and greet, just because I like the outfits that they're wearing. Like I just think
they're like little chefs. So yes, they come out in their little chef hats.
And that's also why I think I really like Topolino Terrace, I think is what it's called, at the top of the Riviera, because I love the little artist outfits that they have on. They all look so cute in this little outfits. I feel like I would love to go to, and I've heard the breakfast there too is also very really good. Yeah, I haven't actually been to the Riviera Resort at all. I haven't even walked around the lobby before. So one day I'll have to go see the Riviera.
Yes, we did.
I did not go to the Riviera. You went there with Jane, and I was not with you that day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we just took the Skyway, and we just
I've been on the Skyliner before, where I took the Skyliner. Yes, right.
I knew we went on.
But I didn't walk around.
We didn't get off and walk around. I walked around with Jane.
So I've never been to the Riviera, but I've heard that the Topolino Terrace, I think,
it's supposed to be very good. It's very hard to get reservations even for dinner.
Yep. Yeah. So I heard all the meals there are supposed to be quite good. So I would like to go there, I think, one day. But again, Chef Mickey's, I think that's kind of almost like the new Chef Mickey's to a certain extent. But Chef Mickey's still stands. It's still like one of the most popular places to go, especially for breakfast and stuff. But I'll say too, you don't have to go to Chef Mickey's if you just want to see Mickey. Like if you don't want to interact and don't want to take a photo, if you just go to Contempo Cafe and just look over the wall, you can see
they are running around,
his little napkin, hanging out, so you can still kind of like see him. So if you just want to see like maybe wave hi, like they'll wave to people who are not at in the restaurant.
The wall,
so you can't like interact or take photos with him, and of course you have to be in the restaurant to do that, but it's kind of like a nice little thing. So I was trying to think of like a fun Disney memory. I guess one Disney memory I would do is that at Fantasia Markets, which again we were saying that little market store that's kind of in that back dark corner of the Contemporary Resort, they often do every day there's a trivia board that's outside of Fantasia Markets. And so the trivia board usually is the same for a couple of days. Maybe it's like the same for a week. I don't think it's a full week though. I think it's a few days it'll be the same. And sometimes they'll have it where like you can do the trivia, you can write down the answers, so you can win like a prize. But I don't think they do that all the time, the prizes, but it's just often fun trivia. But I remember one time doing that, and sometimes it is hard questions. Like they'll go deep dive into like questions, because it's like they do not go easy on people.
No, you look at it and go, who would know that?
Like I remember doing it one time for like a Star Wars trivia, and I never have said I don't know everything about Star Wars. Star Wars at this point too is such an expansive world. Like it's hard to know everything about it. But I remember some of the questions I was like, oh my gosh, some of these are like real deep dive into like the lore and the world of Star Wars. I was like, there's no way I'm going to know any of these. But I do have memories of every time you go there, I'd like to look at the trivia.
Didn't you win once? I thought you won something once. I vaguely remember
winning one. That's what I'm saying. I know sometimes they have prizes, but I don't remember what I won.
I forget what the prize was. It wasn't anything big. It was just,
I don't remember what even the theme of it was. But I do remember every time we go there and we see the trivia board out, I always like to do, because I think Disney trivia is quite fun. I remember you won once. Yeah, I'm not very good at trivia, but I do find trivia to be fun when I am doing trivia in the moment. And I do feel like Disney history trivia is probably what I'm best at, because it is what I tend to know, or current things about like the parks or something like that is what I know. It's like, can you name all these rides? I'm like, yes, I can name all the rides in Disney World, probably, if I sat here and thought long and hard enough for it. So
unless you confuse me as she did with the 20 questions.
20 questions. I did not confuse you. You were asking the questions and you chose to go off the rail on your own in some of those. So that was not me. All right. Anything else you wanted to add for this episode?
No, I think I'm done.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Thank you to my mom for putting together all of this information. I really appreciate her hard
That's
work
okay.
for this.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Make sure you're following us on social media. We are currently Spaceship Earth Design everywhere. It will also be linked in the description below. Make sure to give us a review and 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and also give us a thumbs up and a comment below if you're listening on YouTube. And again, you can listen to us on any podcast platform there is. So let us know what you think of the Contemporary Resort. Have you stayed in Contemporary Resort before? Are you going to stay in the future? Is it one of your must-dos? Or do you just, when you go monorail hopping, do you always just like to visit it? What do you think of it? So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you leave a comment on our Instagram